All right, and welcome back, everybody, to Strange Planet Podcast. And we got a lot to cover today. So I guess starting off, we are going to briefly discuss the Hunter Biden gun situation there, where I believe he lied, on a form about him being a drug addict when trying to get a gun.
Well, essentially, there were three charges that he was brought up on. Two of them were related to lying on his form for gun license, or no, excuse me. Two of them for lying on a form to get a gun. So he lied about having used or been addicted to drugs at the time he purchased. And the other charge was related to his possession of that gun while using or addicted to illegal drugs. So, it's all stemming from the same, circumstances. And so they gave him three separate charges for that. Now, the interesting thing about that is that that's not, the most common charge, set of charges to level at someone. If you remember at the beginning of this case, the Trump appointed prosecutor basically said, he's the special counsel. He basically said, "Oh, we're not going to bring charges. We investigated, all this hype about the laptop and what evil shit could be on there or whatever."
Right.
The only thing they found was that, he bought a gun and he said he wasn't a drug addict when, there's ample evidence that he was a crack addict around the time. So they decided, you know what, it's not worth bringing charges. We don't really do that. And so they decided not to press charges, and then all of a sudden, the Republicans complained about it until the Trump special counsel was like, you know what, we're going to charge him now. And so, it's just, was that politicized? Would people in a similar circumstances whose last name wasn't Biden, would they be charged? Probably not.
Right. Exactly.
And so, but what you saw after the conviction was remarkably different from what you saw just a couple of weeks earlier from Trump. Trump bitched and moaned and attacked he attacked the entire judicial system, and he completely disrespected the entire process. He said that the trial was rigged. He said that, he was going to seek retribution and revenge. It
was unfair. You can't forget that.
He just did not accept he did not accept the jury's verdict. Whereas you heard Joe Biden and Hunter Biden were accepting of the verdict.
Right. They didn't
cry, of course, Hunter is reserving his right to appeal, and he's reviewing, what appealable grounds there may be. There might be some, but you listen to Joe Biden talk about it, and they asked him whether he would pardon his son, and he said no. He said, that he would accept whatever verdict that there was. He did. And, you don't hear him berate the judicial system.
Right.
Even though we might talk about this later, at the Supreme Court level especially, there are a lot of problems in the judicial system in the United States.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's my take on it. How do you feel about the Hunter Biden verdict?
All right. Well, my 2 cents for the situation is it's like the Burning Man. It's a straw man. It's Democrats like, we have to sacrifice this guy. We can't defend him in any way or put up a stink that the fact that it's not necessarily the GOP, but it's it's Jim Jordan and them that are basically trying to go after this guy just to get just to get a Biden's name behind bars. And it's shameful. It really shows the chaos that our entire system of government is in. And I'm not just talking about like, the judicial system or the executive system. It's just like everything's out of whack. You got the inmates running the asylum in the Senate with Jim Jordan, or is that the House?
Jim Jordan's in the House.
So yeah,
you got the House Judiciary Committee.
Yeah, you got the inmates running the asylum in the House. You got the Democrats barely holding water in the Senate. You got Joe Biden doing the best he can where he is. Meanwhile, he's fighting left and right with everything. And then you got the judicial system, which is all over the place, from state to state, from federal to state, and Supreme Courts from state to the actual federal Supreme Court. So, I mean, it's chaos. And like I said, we have to have a straw man to burn, and that's unfortunately Hunter Biden. He has to take the full consequences for what he did. And admittedly, what he did was wrong, and he should take punishment. But this is not something that most people get full book for. They usually get like, hey, look, if you promise to go for some, drug help programs and stuff, will help you get with that. You're not going to be able to have a gun for a while or ever again. Whatever the choice
guns,
is.
with GOP and guns.
If you remember at the beginning, he, took a guilty plea.
Yeah, he did. That's true.
They negotiated a plea, and then, all of a sudden the plea was no good, and they had to withdraw the plea, and it was just a very weird set of circumstances that
there was a time
see that happen with normal defendants.
Yeah, and there was a time they were going to hold him in contempt for not appearing, before them when he was sitting right there.
Right?
Like, yeah, no, he's right there. You want to start the thing? He's right there.
That was called a bluff.
Yeah,
that was Congress. The House, subpoenaed him to testify behind closed doors, and he said, no, I'll do it in public. Like, what do you have to hide from asking me questions behind closed doors so you can like cherry pick shit and feed the American public what you want them to hear, but not the entire story.
Exactly. It'll be like you got some dude like in college with a freaking tape recorder, like, oh yeah, okay, speak, okay, no, hold on, okay, speak again, okay, hold on. They're piece it together like, Hunter Biden, did you take money from such and such? Yes. After like a break that you can hear clearly. Yeah, it's gonna be chaos. So let's go cook the books in the back, and then no one will notice.
I will say this though. I'm waiting for the false equivalency to start rising if it hasn't already. Because now that Hunter Biden's been convicted, obviously Trump was too, for different reasons. But like, they're going to make it look like it's the end of the world. Oh my God. But you need to realize one thing. Hunter Biden is not running for president. Hunter Biden is just the president's son. So like, if he broke the law, sure, he's now got to face the music and he's going to have to deal with the consequences. But when we have the other guy who is a convicted felon at this point, Donald Trump, you know what I mean? And he's running for president. So you see what I'm saying here? So they're going to try to twist this up and make it look like it's equal, and it's not.
Trump already abused his pardon power to pardon people in his inner circle. He pardoned Paul Manafort, his campaign manager.
Yep.
He pardoned Steve Bannon. He's his advisor, but like,
who's going to prison?
he was in prison or headed to. I think he was imprisoned before.
Right, he's going again too.
He pardoned him.
Yeah,
like,
true. Yeah.
They were doing dirty shit on Trump's behalf. and he pardoned them. And so, like, this is the difference. Like, Biden is not the same as Trump. Biden respects our republic. He respects our democracy. He respects our judicial system. He respects our Constitution.
Yep.
Even though he has the power to pardon his son right now, he could say,
"You're 100% right.
It all goes away for my son. It all goes away." Now, of course, it's an election, and how would that look? Blah blah blah. But we have to take Joe at his word that he will not, pardon his son. Now, there's talk about maybe he'll, commute his sentence, which is not the same as a pardon. A pardon is like, okay, this, basically did not happen. This crime, basically is, nullified and void. Whereas commuting a sentence means like, okay, the crime still happened, the guilty verdict still happened, the conviction still happened, but we're not going to have you serve out, if they give them like 20 fucking years or something, or some insane sentence, I could see Joe Biden being like, okay, well, no.
Yeah, like, hold up here, really.
Hold on. Something's unfair is going on here. But he, it wouldn't even come lightly even at that point, because, he respects our judicial system.
Right.
He respects the rule of law. He respects juries and the work that they do to arrive at verdicts.
And more importantly, democracy.
But, the Republicans, they don't respect that at all.
Nope.
When Trump lost the election fair and square, they stormed the Capitol violently, and disrupted, the peaceful transfer of power. Now, when Trump was duly convicted by a jury of his peers in the state of New York, they say it's rigged, unfair.
Of course. Right.
Like, and even I don't even want to entertain the possibility that it is rigged or whatever, but like, you just don't say that shit,
right?
Like without evidence, like if you have some evidence that it was rigged, why not present it?
Right, legitimate evidence too.
There's an appeals court. You can appeal, right? Now, I don't think he can appeal till sentencing, but you could probably, go to his buddies on the Supreme Court and be like, hey, like, throw this out right now. It's rigged. Like, if he had evidence of that, but he doesn't.
No, there never was.
Just like he claimed to have evidence that Barack Obama was born outside this country.
Right.
Never produced that evidence. He said, "Oh, I had some people go down to Hawaii and investigate, and you'll be very, very surprised about what I found. You'll be very surprised."
Right.
Yeah, but then he never proves any.
Did we ever hear what that was?
No, because he never came up with the actual evidence. So
because there wasn't
any. He had nothing. Yeah. He had nothing. He promises shit and doesn't deliver.
That's his whole legacy. That's all he's ever done in life, if you think about it.
That's why he's
bullshits people, and the people that support him are fucking dumb enough to believe him.
Exactly. Every time.
They love a clown.
Every time too. Every time.
It's funny because he doesn't play to the court of the court of law. He plays to the court of public opinion. So he hams it up as much as he can, bullshits out of the left side of his mouth, and it's just they gobble it up, and
his supporters help him.
Of course, they're enabled.
Half of them know this is bullshit.
After
some of them are too dumb. The other half know this is bullshit, and they're just helping him out.
That's.
I'm going to be honest with you guys. If this was me, and I knew that if I would, they're doing me wrong, man. It couldn't be a raw deal, man. Go, put some money in my account, my little fund that we're doing to try to save me. Oh, man. And then he gets $200 million. Yeah, if I could do that, I would too.
He's the master of manipulation. And he's got all this manipulation.
It's just that.
Oh, well, he's a master at manipulating dumb people.
Yeah, but they fall for it every time. That's the sad part. Like it just, I can't.
He knows how to grift dumb people.
Yeah,
They're
he even said
idiots.
he's
I'm
even said he
sorry.
loves
I'm
the
sorry.
poorly educated.
All this, like, oh, we have to be nice to the other side. No, we don't.
Right?
I'm done. No.
Yeah,
Like
I
at
kind
this
of hear
point,
you.
there's enough evidence before you to know that this man is rotten as shit.
A convicted felon.
He's like, can you believe, like, you are, like, if you're a Trump supporter, right? You are considering voting for someone who has a parole officer. Like, of all the people in the country, you pick the one who has a parole officer? Are you
Right?
fucking kidding me? God, how ridiculous that sounds. Your candidate for president has a parole officer.
Think about that. Let that sink in a minute. Like,
Like, this is what it's come to.
yeah, it's sad.
What it's come to. It's fucking sad.
Well,
Like,
what this does show
I
is
don't get it.
this shows the power of a lie. If
Yeah,
you really stand behind that lie and believe it to your core, even though it's total fucking horseshit, it can affect people in
they'll
ways
choose
that
to
you
believe
know. Exactly.
Yeah, that's
It's
the
not,
sad
it's,
part.
it's not even the truth.
Right.
And they're totally. I think it's not so much the message that he's sending; it's just him in general. Whatever they got hooked on with him, they're stuck with. They're not. They don't want to hear the sense. Oh no, they stole the election from him, so he has the right to do this because he's supposedly the president now. And the fact that the GOP still squawk about the whole he won the election thing or he didn't win the election thing, it's surprising because it's like he didn't win the election, right? And they're all just like, well, there's that and the other thing. It's just like, really, you're still taking this line now? We're how far into the almost new friggin' election year?
Right.
So I mean,
It's almost 4 years later.
it's impressive that they're all staying on message, all of them. It's either they're doing it out of fear or they're doing it because, I don't know, somebody promised them a lot of money.
Or they're just
Something's
manipulating.
going on in the background. It's something going on in the background. Most people are not easily dissuaded by this kind of bullshit. I mean, because, come on, everyone knew when he was talking, even his own constituents were like, wow, he is full of shit. He can make us some real money. So that's why they went along with it. And now they're kind of, hamstringed by it because then you got all these friggin' MAGA idiots that are in the Congress and the House and everything, and all they do is just stir up trouble.
Right.
So I don't know.
So I want to draw a parallel, and I know, this is something that happens maybe too often, but when I think about Hitler and Nazi Germany, right?
Okay.
You always wonder, like, how did that happen? Like, how could people be so fucking stupid to go along with shit like this? Now, I'm not saying that Trump is Hitler. Like, he's much dumber than Hitler. Let's get that out of the way.
That's for damn sure.
And as far as I know, he hasn't killed a bunch of people. All right. He is anti-Semitic, but that's besides the point.
Right.
So, like, the people that vote for Trump and that support him, they would have voted and supported for, like, Hitler. It's like now we see how a population can be like so gullible and so evil that they would just like vote for the why would people vote for a convicted felon? Why?
Exactly.
Why?
Like,
Why would you consider that
shit? Yeah,
like
I can't call it.
Is our society so degraded that like this is like a legitimate option? Like, we're talking about like, yes, like, oh, I've got to decide between Joe Biden and a convicted felon.
Right? Like it's so hard.
What the fuck? Like, why is this even like how is that a level like choice?
You would think it'd be a no-brainer at this point, but it's the
Like,
level of manipulation.
why is that?
It's the choice made by people who have been misinformed
The entire
gravely.
time.
The entire time. And it gets to the point where it's so ingrained in their minds.
It's real.
Even with evidence, and you prove it to them, like, look at this. I have all this. This is legit. And they're gonna be like,
no, they don't give a fuck. They're fucked. The question. No, and then you have these like, dumbass fucking like people like rappers and shit. They're like, oh yeah, I'll vote for Trump. Oh, Trump's like, what the fuck? Like, what is wrong with people? Like, what is wrong with the fucking country?
I honestly, as a straight white man, cannot answer that honestly without being like crucified. So I'm just gonna.
I just don't know. I just don't know. Like, what is wrong with people? Like, what is wrong with our country?
A lot, apparently, because if this is what we're dealing with, and what I'll never understand too is the undecided voter. The one that's like, oh, I don't know. What do you fucking mean you don't know? Like, then you have those other hopeful idiots that are like, oh, well, maybe both parties or one of the parties will eventually like swap him in with somebody else, which, let's be real, it's not going to happen.
Look, I think I know what's wrong with the country.
I'm afraid that Joe Biden will lose.
I'm a little worried about it too, to be honest. I am.
I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that he's absolutely going to win. I'm hoping he's going to win. It looks good. He's going to win, but there still is the chance.
I don't know.
There still is the chance. Well, here's the thing. I don't know. It's not just the fact that it's maybe these idiots are going to vote for him and he's going to win by numbers. It's also going to be all the gerrymandering up the fucking wazoo. Because as far as I know now, North Carolina's fucked, or South Carolina, one of the Carolinas is fucked, where they allowed a gerrymandered fucking map to go through. Like, yeah, no, fuck all those black people. That's fine. You can do that.
Wow.
And it's just like, what?
Yeah. But it's also people have short-term memories. They don't remember how fucking ridiculous and chaotic every day of the Trump presidency was. Every day it was something new and bizarre and fucking crazy that he says or like does on the
He might draw on a weather map.
He managed to flip all that on its head with the fake news bullshit and always, deflecting. I mean, he's not going to be able to deflect everything.
Right, but that's true.
We have to see what happens during sentencing come July. If Marshawn comes through and says, I wasn't going to give you any time, I was going to give you maybe some probation or whatever, but since you had over 10, disruptions in the court or whatever they call that, I'm actually going to give you some fucking time now.
He had over 10 contempt violations, but also
like every time he left the courtroom,
he's not sorry about it. He's not sorry. He attacked the judge and he attacked, the
and
jury.
It's funny. He said it was rigged with the parole officer already, and it was very short from what I understand. Oh yeah, he was very pleasant and he didn't have any disruptions. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that the parole officer went in there like, yeah, this guy has no remorse for what he did. So I asked him 5 questions. Like, oh, everything's good. Oh, you thought that was nice. Oh, okay, you think it was good. Oh, okay, we're done here.
I mean, it was for that initial thing, it's just to get background information, and they already had, he's one of the most famous people in the world, so they already have all the background information they'll ever need from him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they don't need to find out whether he's remorseful or not, because every time he left the fucking courtroom,
every time
he went to the stand.
Every time they put a mic in his face, he like shits on the fucking case and shits on the court. And
so they know he has no remorse for it. Exactly. So that's why I was worried because it was short, but now reading between the tea leaves, it's just like it's short because everyone knew he doesn't care. And this is just formality at this point.
See, the problem is right now, too, a lot of people don't realize he's not really running to be president. He's running from prison. That's one of the biggest things here.
He's running to pardon himself. He's running to pardon himself and then punish everybody who went after him.
Exactly. And then it's going to be retribution.
Except for this particular case, he can't pardon himself.
Right, that's true. But my worry is if that scumbag actually does somehow win, we'll never see the other three. You know
Right.
what I
So,
mean?
like, for those
So
of
he's
you who
going to get
don't know,
away with it.
you can't. The presidential pardon power only applies to federal crime.
Oh, so the state ones will still go through then.
So, state,
Yeah,
he was convicted of a New York felony.
right.
So they can't really he can't pardon, a New York felony.
He can't pardon a New York felony.
Right.
Is there any way to change that law?
You have to change the Constitution.
For that. Yeah.
And that's an act of Congress, right? With the
Well, it's an act of
Supreme Court
Congress,
backing him up.
or it's either, well, to get a constitutional amendment, you have to go through like state legislatures and Congress. Like, it's like a crazy fucking process that's why it doesn't happen anymore. But so that's out of the question. But for changing the Supreme Court's interpretation of the Constitution, that is up for debate, because the Supreme Court has changed its interpretation of settled law. We spoke about this, I think, last week, but I honestly have zero respect for this court right now.
Yep, I agree.
Not only is Samuel Alito a joke, Clarence Thomas is a joke, Amy Coney Barrett, like, I mean, she shouldn't even be on the fucking court.
She should be, yeah.
But she probably hasn't been there long enough to start grifting like the other ones. But Justice Roberts, what a fucking pussy. I'm sorry. He tries to come off as this, like, oh, I'm so fair and even-handed, and this is my court. We're gonna be fair and everything. But like, I just don't understand. Like, he's a pussy, and he has overseen like the dismantling of decades of settled law, and he's just doing nothing about the rampant corruption that is on his court.
Right, just watching the fire burn.
Nothing. Like, he doesn't think that he or any of the other justices should be held accountable for their massive grifting of gifts from billionaires, and including people with business before the court.
Right.
Like, how foul is that shit? Like, you're gonna take lavish trips paid for by billionaires and then hear cases before your court that those billionaires are interested in the outcomes?
Right.
Like, that's fucked up. And I hate how news outlets covered this, but to add some like false equivalence, they were like, oh yeah, and Justice Jackson, she accepted some Beyonce tickets. Are you fucking kidding me? You're trying to say that Beyonce, like, okay, I'm sure if Beyonce has a case before the Supreme Court, she Justice Jackson will recuse herself. Okay.
Right.
This is shit that like Alito and Clarence Thomas have not disclosed previously, and they were sitting there hearing fucking cases. Are you fucking kidding me?
It's unbelievable.
And Alito, he was already caught fucking lying. That's the only conclusion we can draw, because his ridiculous explanation for why he has upside down flags flying outside his fucking house and outside his fucking vacation house. Like, why is he flying these fucking flags? Oh, they said it was because of the neighbor. Well, that turned out to be bullshit. He's lying. He's a fucking liar.
What did his neighbor have a Biden sign in their yard?
I'm uncomfortable with having a fucking liar be the supreme arbiter of truth in this country and in our court.
It's unbelievable.
Like, a liar should not be on our court. I'm sorry. Like,
I agree. I agree.
And the fact that Justice Roberts can sit there and be like, "Oh, everything's fine," like, when there's dude is clearly fucking lying. He's clearly corrupt. He's taking money left and right.
Right.
Clarence Thomas, like, he don't give a fuck. Like, the fact that fucking Justice Roberts can sit there and just act like everything's fine, like fuck him too.
Yeah, for real.
So,
Go ahead, Mark.
I was actually going to add to this. Did you hear the recording made, the secret recording made of Judge Alito, where he said that he never wants to side with the lefties. It's like anything that ever comes up in his court, he's just like, it's a straight no.
I didn't hear all of
part of it. I didn't hear that part of the recording.
Yeah, no, the recording basically said
he needs to be impeached right now because he has shown himself to be impartial.
Yeah, entirely.
Justices have politics. It's a political body now, which is unfortunate.
Very unfortunate.
At least you're supposed to have some sort of the air of like being proper and being impartial. And if it's the case, like I haven't heard that part of the recording, if that's true.
I didn't either, but I'm sure
if that's true, if he said something about not siding with a particular political bias or political persuasion or perspective, then that just demonstrates that you cannot be impartial. That's a statement. Like, we should never trust him in any case again. He can't serve on this court.
He should be removed.
Yeah, absolutely should be removed.
If he had any dignity, he would remove himself if he was recorded making comments like that. Okay.
The problem is he ain't going to remove himself. We already know that.
No, never going to remove himself.
And so there has to be an impeachment, and that's not going to happen because what is the House going to do? We have to wait until the Democrats possibly take the House, because the Republicans aren't going to do it to their own. They're not.
They'll never. Nope. Yeah, don't rely on them.
They have no. I mean, look what they let happen on January 6th.
Look who their candidate for presidency is.
Yeah, it's a self-proclaimed would-be dictator.
Yeah,
who's gonna turn this democracy into a fucking totalitarian bullshit.
Yeah, so I'm just fed up. I really am.
Because it's like you keep seeing things get destroyed and no one's doing anything. Like, you know what I mean? We're just kind of sitting here watching shit burn.
The thing that sucks the most is, like, generally, sort of in favor of bolstering our institutions. Like, this is a time in our American history where a lot of people are just distrustful of government. They're just distrustful of institutions. And I think we need to, have a reason to have more trust in our government, more trust in institutions. We need to restore that sense of trust. And the Supreme Court, which used to be something before the Roberts Court, it used to be something, you got mad or happy at decisions or whatever, but at least you sense that, they took their job seriously. Now it just seems like, they just don't give a fuck. They're gonna take whatever money they want and, just ignore the public. They're like, they feel like they have no sense of duty to the public that they serve. And that's the legacy of the Roberts Court thus far. They have no fucking sense of duty to our country and to the people that they serve.
Yeah, they're still sitting on litigations for the
not
Trump.
Accountable to them.
Is there any way? I mean, obviously removing him would be one way of fixing this, but we just, kind of established that not only is it very unlikely, it's obviously he's not going to remove himself either. But is there any way that this can be repaired in some way?
Well, look. So like I said last week, when there is some sense that a judge cannot be impartial, or if there is an appearance that a judge might be impartial because of anything, surrounding the case, a judge is supposed to recuse himself, meaning he's not supposed to participate in that case. Right?
Right.
So what happens if a justice makes comments that are just so, like, dismissive of an entire perspective he won't consider?
Right.
Like, bias. We already know from his voting record that he's a conservative justice.
Right.
But when you write off a whole, side in terms of a whole perspective, in terms of how you might rule, I think that's a problem.
The major problem.
And, what's the solution for that? I mean,
hit the road.
Yeah, it's unlikely, but
we can't.
Yeah.
Like, we need to impeach. We don't have the House to do that. We just don't have it. So this election is important because not only to shore up, legislatively, but also to, try at least to bring some semblance of a check on the Supreme Court, because they've been trampling women's rights, minority rights. They've just been ripping up, decades of precedent. Just fuck it.
Right.
Like, we're just going to decide to do that just because we're in power now.
Right. And this is what we feel like.
Justice Roberts has enabled them to do that.
That's sickening is what it really is. It really is.
All while trying to appear fair and like he is such a farce. He really is. I liked him at the beginning. I did buy into his bullshit, but he turned out to be a farce.
And you have the brains to realize that he's a piece of shit now.
He is not, holding his court accountable. He wants the court to appear to be fair, unbiased, and not just like this shit happened during the Obama administration. Remember at one of the states of the union, before Marjorie Taylor Greene and what's that guy's name? He's not in Congress anymore. You lied. What was it, Joe Wilson or something like that?
Something, yeah.
He yelled that to Obama. Like, how fucking disrespectful, by the way.
Right?
Alito also whispered something during the Obama State of the Union, not true or something like that. Like, before that, the Supreme Court was that's not the place you do it, right? Like, you could understand a congressman or something muttering under their breath or whatever, but in the era where you lie and whatever, right? For Alito to publicly debate the president at the president's State of the Union,
right?
That's fucking improper as hell.
He turned it into Jerry Springer, it was unbelievable.
No, just he has demonstrated this court is a fucking disgrace. I have zero respect for it, and we need to clean house somehow.
That's the key words. We need to clean
house.
Yeah, we need to clean it up.
We need to get Democrats in charge of the House, and we need to bring an impeachment investigation into the Supreme Court. I don't know how effective that might be. That's unprecedented because it's a co-equal branch of government, or I guess they say co-equal, but since there's no check on them,
right.
We're gonna and what you're gonna. Well, if we were to impeach Alito, I guess, the trial would be in the Senate, but since it's not a presidential impeachment, Justice Roberts wouldn't have to preside over that. But it's just I just don't know. We don't want it to come to that. We really don't. We're having to impeach Supreme Court justices because we can't trust them. Because they fucking lie.
That's where we are.
You're caught in a fucking lie, and you're supposed to be, it's important for one of the top judges in our court system to not be a liar. Okay.
I hate to say it, but that whole lying thing too, that's like a off-breed off of Trump. Now, I'm not saying obviously that people didn't lie before, but he saw how far he got in recent events. So maybe he's like, I'll try it too.
No, you have an upside down flag, which is not good. That's not a good look for a Supreme Court justice.
No, right? That's definitely not. Yeah. That's against
you
the nation.
lie about why,
and then blame it on your
you
wife.
get caught lying. Right. So like, I just, you know, that's fucked up.
It's a
So we need
circus.
to do something about it.
And that's all we got for this episode, everyone. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And we will see you next week. Thanks for watching.